What's going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and welcome to the most exciting New Year video. This is my most anticipated games of 2017, my top 10 games that I hope end up being my top 10 games for 2017. I'm always excited to do the game of the year. My top 10 for 2016 went up a couple days ago, and that one's always fun, but this is the one that to me is even more exciting because reflecting back is one thing, but looking forward with so much hope, with so much hype, with so much enthusiasm is the best. So I've got 10 games for you, plus a little booster pack of honorable mentions that I'm going to save for the end, because if I give them to you now, it'll spoil the list. And this list was actually harder for me to do than the game of the year, and it wasn't because there wasn't enough stuff. It's because there was so much stuff, and lowering it down, and every time I feel like I had my 10 set, I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that coming out. So this one was really tricky, whereas I feel like Game of the Year 2016 had sort of a mediocre list with a little bit of cream of the crop. 2017 seems like it's going to be a year to remember. Keep in mind, we've got the Scorpio launching, we've got the Nintendo Switch launching, we've got a whole slew of games that have already been announced, and then there will inevitably be some surprises. So let's not delay, let's get right into my top 10 most anticipated games of 2017, and we kick things off at number 10 with Scalebound, the Dragon de Jour title from Mr. Kamiya and the team over at Platinum. This is an Xbox One exclusive that has been in development for quite some time. In fact, it's seen some pretty major delays, but with hopes that they are looking to round out the gameplay and expand upon what we initially saw. It is one thing to have a fast-paced, action-oriented, open-world title with dragons. It's another to make that feel really unique, as well as really polished and really worthwhile. We now know that they have co-op. There's been rumors of flying the dragons around, and based on the fact that they do combat and craziness pretty darn well over there at Platinum, I have a lot of high hopes for this one. I wish I could shift it higher up my list. I think that still the gigantic environments and the less we don't know for sure, but what seems like a less combo-focused combat system has me a little bit worried. I would love it if this was like the new DMC, which I thought was phenomenal. If it was like that, but done by Platinum and with dragons and fantasy and open world, I would be, scooting this thing higher up my list. I don't mind sort of the anime-inspired, like tech weird dude with the hair and the headphones like aesthetic. That doesn't bother me. I'm just concerned about the repetitiveness and the ability to really convey those real memorable moments when the world is so big and so sprawling. Do you lose the luster of a more tightly crafted linear experience? But we shall see. Scalebound, I'm guessing that thing is coming for sure, probably this fall for Xbox One. If it comes out in the summer or something like that, that would be fantastic. And moving along to number 9, we have the untitled, but definitely coming, Assassin's Creed Egypt. Now, this game should release in November and sort of fill the slot of Watch Dogs 2 from 16 and get back on track for Assassin's Creed. Why this game is so exciting to me is because I loved Assassin's Creed 2 so much. I thought AC1 was a great first start. AC2 was the perfect sequel. And then everything from there just kind of crumbled. And along the way, they lost, I think, a lot of focus and a lot of discipline. These games were just filled with bugs and filled with boredom, frankly. A lot of repetitiveness, a lot of content crushed in there, but just to check marks on backs of boxes, and to make big lists and big, legends for maps and things like that. It wasn't really well thought out content. I'm hoping that the year off gives the team the time to really take AC to the next level. Instead of just making the same game every year, hey, how can we make a sequel to the last 6 games, right? And that's what I hope that they're doing. I think it's very, very admirable that they took the year off, that they realized, hey, we're kind of going to run ourselves into the ground if we keep doing this. And frankly, I think the Egyptian setting is exactly what they need. That has been heavily rumored, if not confirmed by some leaks. I think that kind of a change of pace is going to do wonders for them, because we've all seen, Rome and Europe and blah, 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 blah. And to me, the AC3 America setting was super unimpressive due to the low-lying buildings and sort of the lack of vertical exploration and the lack of wonder and amazement. They took, with Unity and Syndicate, they upped the game in terms of how things looked and the sizing and whatnot, and I really hope that they'll impart some of the mission structure from Watch Dogs 2 into Assassin's Creed Egypt, because I think that Watch Dogs 2, in my opinion, does a better job with the linear missions than AC does, and I hope that they're able to incorporate some of those elements into this new AC. You know, one thing that's always hard for me with Assassin's Creed is I feel like they're pretty easy games, or they have really hard fail states. So, like, picture those annoying missions where you have to follow someone and stay in their little stupid, like, gossip circle. That has very quick fail states, or the missions are, like, just, to me, too easy. I also am just excited for a change of pace, a change of character, a change of everything. You know, sure, we love Ezio, and, you know, we had a better character in Syndicate than I think in the past, but I feel like they really need a new type of character. Watch Dogs 2 did a great job of, like, flipping what Aiden Pierce was completely upside down and giving us someone way more interesting, way more unique, way more specific to Watch Dogs 2, and I hope that's what we see in AC Egypt. I also hope that we get a reintroduction to the real-world setting in a more mysterious and fully fledged way. I know it didn't amount to much, and it ended up being kind of a bummer, but I really thought in AC2 in particular, and even somewhat in AC1, those in the real world, outside of the Animus little like mini missions were fantastic, and I'd love to see them bring back some more of the mystery and intrigue of the series outside of the historical realm and into the modern day realm. It doesn't have to be as crazy as like goddesses blowing up suns and stuff, but I think, you know, if they find a way to sort of couple those two together, really work on the side mission and the main mission structure and design, incorporate some new elements that are there because they are fun to play and not just because they fill, you know, pack in hours, and almost go against what Ubisoft often sets out to do, which is create, you know, make least man hours for most game hours really bugs me. And I know that's been said in some of their presentations, but I believe they have good people there, and I believe that some of their other titles that we may see on this list are indicative of where their mind's at, and I hope they bring all that to AC Egypt. I would love for that game to blow people away and be a Game of the Year contender. So that's number 9. Number 8 is Prey, sort of the rebooted Prey 2. That we've seen now a couple of times, and we got sort of a big blowout at the Game Awards, the big gameplay segment. That game looks really cool for a number of reasons. One, you know, I thought Prey 2, the initial Prey 2, sort of the space bounty hunter sort of game, looked incredible. Now, I know this is a very different product, but I like that they're still going with a very intriguing and mysterious and futuristic setting. It almost reminds me of Dead Space meets BioShock, which I don't know if you could bless me with anything better than that. I miss Dead Space dearly. I loved BioShock and miss that dearly. I'm sure eventually we get a DS4 and a BioShock 4, but until then, Prey may be a pretty good holdover. It looks like it's got an intriguing story. If you remember the initial trailers with that guy and how he was like aging or not aging, what's going on there? What is this organism that is infecting the ship? You can transition your conscience or control like coffee cups and things of that nature. The gunplay looks sweet. It looks to be a very moody, atmospheric game, gorgeous game, and hopefully one that is very power-driven and story-driven and keeps you like on the edge of your seat, not because of jump scares, but because of an intriguing and engaging storyline. I know we don't know a whole ton about that, but I hope to play it soon. It seems like it is more of a first half of 2017 release, so super excited for that. I think Prey is going to be maybe not like a Game of the Year type game, but definitely like, oh, one of the better titles, and it doesn't bear, you know, a major franchise name like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, but like they are probably going to put out a super fine product there. And I think the team that they've got on that is excellent for what they're doing, and I'm excited to see how that ends up turning out. Number 7, and I'm surprised this isn't higher, is Mass Effect Andromeda. I love me some Mass Effect 2. 1 was a really fun experience that I wouldn't really qualify as great, but I really enjoyed it. 2 was phenomenal. 3, I burned out on. So I'm excited to get back in with a fresh start, a fresh set of characters, a fresh universe, well, more of a fresh galaxy than fresh universe, and I'm excited to see what they do with this thing now that it's on next gen. How are they utilizing the power of Xbox One, PlayStation 4 to up their ante and bring us a better space exploration combat game? It looks like the combat has become much more fluid and action oriented, which I think is a good thing, and the dialogue is still all there. Now, I do have some slight worry because, unlike most, I was not the biggest fan of Dragon Age Inquisition. I think there's still an awkward stiffness there to a lot of the characters. I think that, in general, it is a very, to me, a plotting game, and I hope that clearly they've brought some of the elements from DAI over to Mass Effect Andromeda, but I hope it still retains its more action-oriented, fast-paced, and I don't know, more like gritty feel to it, and I'm sure it will. And I like some of the management things they did, with sort of the planet cracking that you had to do in Mass Effect 2. And it sounds like they're really trying to blow out your ways to interact with the space world. So whether it is the new, Mako 2.0, whatever that's called, being able to drive around. We've seen some massive boss battles. The combat, like I mentioned, there now is no longer as much of a laning for the powers. It seems like you can kind of explore the entire wall of powers rather than a specific column, which I think is cool. And I hope that they're able to dig deep into the really emotional moments and the hard decisions. It looks like they've done away with pure Paragon Renegade. I waver on that. Sometimes I think it's more enjoyable to not know what's going on, sort of like The Walking Dead, where it just says, someone's going to remember that, and you don't really know what it's doing. But other times I really like the fact that I know what I'm picking is what I'm picking, because especially in a game like Mass Effect, where the dialogue is just bountiful, you can occasionally get confused as to what the meaning or the intonation or the idea behind a response is, and when it's specifically Paragon Renegade, you know what you're doing, and you can kind of make choices like, I want to piss this person off. I want to stay on their good side. When it's more gray, the way that is rewarding is if there are many, many permutations as the game goes on. So the way that gray is rewarding is if a bunch of crazy stuff can happen and they want to keep it under wraps. The way that gray is not rewarding is if you never know what your decisions are. Okay, so some developers would argue that having that sort of mirage there, right, where you can't tell, there is no clear, definitive, that's where that choice is made, is great, because then the player experiences their story. I would argue that then I feel like I'm experiencing a generic story, and I have no idea where my personality, my inputs are being outputted, right? I would like to at least see some of, hey, I told this person to F off, and now they denied my entry to this spaceport, and so now we have to go in from a different, I want to know some of this stuff, hey, this character is gone because we kissed their boyfriend or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of crazy kissing and making love in Mass Effect Andromeda. It's got a release date, 3rd week of March. Cannot wait to play it. March is a phenomenal month, as you'll see as we move on. Now, number 6, man, 6 is one I feel bad about, and you guys are all going to be like, oh, you're going to get your gasp faces on because I sung this game's praise all last year. And the delay did bum me, but I think what worried me most about number 6 is what we haven't seen. Horizon Zero Dawn comes in at number 6, and this was my number 1 most anticipated game for most of last year. I'm worried about it for a number of reasons. I worry that it is much more of an open world game than I would like it to be, or that I think we were initially led to believe. Some may argue that they're holding off and holding back in order to keep the good stuff under wraps. I hope that's the case. My concern is that they have only shown certain environments over and over because it is a very open and repetitive game. They tease at a storyline full of mystery, intrigue, and this strange connection between the future and the past. Sort of these robot dinosaurs with the organic, more, cavemen-type society or culture that is clearly in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. I hope that gets fleshed out. I hope that is not just window dressing for some back-of-the-box lore. I hope that that's fleshed out, and I'm worried that we have not seen a lot of it. We have not heard a lot about it, and it really garnered so much good word of mouth based on really visuals. The same can be said of Killzone 2, another Guerrilla Games joint that I really loved Killzone 2 and 3 a lot. I was a bigger fan of both games than most, but they impressed the heck out of people with that initial reveal trailer, then disappointed the heck out of people with the launch trailer, and then delivered what most would probably say is a mediocre game. I really liked it. It's not like one of my favorites of all time, but I was gunning for Horizon Zero Dawn to be like the instant game of the year. I hope that there is more content in that game, more unique environments, and more specifically designed levels and set pieces and moments than just Far Cry Primal on PlayStation, because I'm a bit worried at this point. So that is sort of the big question mark of 2017 for me. Does Horizon Zero Dawn come in and be a showstopper or a snot dropper, and it's just a booger right at the beginning of 2017? So, that one comes out very soon, end of February. It's pretty darn close. It's what, 6 weeks away, and we will know soon. People that played it at E3 and played it wherever loved it. I got to play about a 5-minute demo. It was a sandbox demo, and again, that's not what worries me. I think that part's really cool. I also am worried that the combat is too expansive and not like that you have too many options for how to take things down, and I never find it fun when anything can work. So I don't know. I have a lot of worries about Horizon Zero Dawn, but I'd love to be surprised. I had a lot of worries going into Uncharted 4, and then Naughty Dog came out and like homered that, and it was my game of the year. So there's no reason Horizon Zero Dawn can't do the same. I'm just nervous right now. So that's halfway through the list, and the top 5 here are really interesting, and I think it's a really eclectic mix of games, and that gives me hope that 26 or 17 is just like a really great year across the genre. So it's not just a strategy-heavy year or a shooter-heavy year, but one that spans, the multitude of ways games can be made and played. So number 5 is Detroit Become Human, the next game from the mastermind David Cage, the pseudo-sequel to what he's done before, the Heavy Rains and the Beyonds. This one looks to be the best yet for a number of reasons. One, visually astounding. I think it was the best game I saw at E3. Does it end up running that well on regular PlayStation 4s? I don't know, but it looked amazing there. And I think that their idea this time is really suited to that style of game, right? So it's a detective story. It's robots. Are they, trustworthy? Are they not? What are you? And it plays from multiple character perspectives, which is something that's always enjoyable about games. I really liked Beyond, how it had a very focused linear story. I really liked Heavy Rain for its back and forth and keeping you guessing. So I hope this is like the merger of the two. Like David Cage has learned a lot to really take advantage not only of the visual medium and the story medium, but maybe made the gameplay better. I think the detective thing, kind of like Heavy Rain, but with now robots and tech, makes a lot of sense for more of that plotting, methodical gameplay. And I hope that, like we saw that real crazy back and forth at E3 with you're sort of a cop robot and you have to talk down this android who was like a caretaker or a nanny android, and he's like ready to like kill himself and jump off the building with the little girl. And there are so many different ways that can go based on your responses. That is cool. Games that are going to be willing to kill off major characters and ruin storylines based on your choices. I love that. And, I really like that game, in theory, will be an evolution of Heavy Rain, and hopefully have just some crazily varied endings. I want there to be real different outcomes for your characters, and I'm excited to see how they take sort of the iRobot thing of like robots rebelling, or should we have them, should we not, the sort of the conflict between robots and humans, and take that to what we saw at E3, and then really blow that out into other scenarios, other situations. And then, it reminds me a lot of Westworld and sort of the realization that we like the robots, we have emotions, we feel this. Are we real? Are we alive? Are we dead? What is our purpose? Can we do anything outside of what they tell us? I think that I love Westworld. So the fact that this is kind of like Westworld meets game meets future meets Detroit, my freaking city. I'm in love that we got a game named Detroit. But I think this is going to be a real gem of a title. A big seller, no, but I think it'll be a critical darling, and hopefully a very poignant and powerful emotional experience from start to finish. Number 4 is For Honor. How perfect is that? And no, I didn't plan it that way. For Honor is an example of what I wish all developers were doing. Ubisoft has its stable of franchises that it can rely on. The moneymakers, the Assassin's Creeds, the Watch Dogs, the Far Cry's. They have gotten more risky with those franchises, taking a year off with AC, going with an African-American, very on-the-nose, political and modern-era storyline in Watch Dogs 2, and Far Cry going primal and doing something totally different. And, if you're to believe crazy rumors, it sounds like the next Far Cry may flip things on its head once again. But they're also innovating with new IP. So they're not settling for their existing franchises being just cash cows. They're trying to reinvigorate those franchises, and they're bringing you something new. But let's talk specifically about For Honor. For Honor looks generic as heck. Knights, Samurai, and Vikings, really not going to get anyone excited, I don't think. But trust me, the game there will get you excited about Knights, Samurai, and Vikings. It is phenomenal. It is a very awesome new style of multiplayer. It harkens me back to the initial launch of Evolve, before all of the crap with the DLC and the cost and the player base. It was exciting because it was a new kind of multiplayer. It wasn't just a shooter. It wasn't just, turn-based. It wasn't just a sports game. Like, it was something new. And For Honor is taking these 4-on-4 battles with, pseudo Dark Souls style, very, engaged and specific combat systems, and then making it crazy because of the combinations and the characters. And they have insane balance chops as far as I've seen. I played a lot of the game. I've matched up the lightest character versus the heaviest character, and it works, and it's a tight battle. They fleshed the multiplayer out with many modes for large groups as well as small groups. 2-on-2 duels, 1-on-1 duels are amazing and going to give that game plenty of longevity, and I feel like really be a training ground for some pretty serious competition. The single player is also there. This looked to initially be a multiplayer only game. Then they said, no, we got single player, and it's actually pretty good. Is it a showstopper? No, but to me, it's better than Rise, which launched on which came out with Xbox One and ended up being a pretty decent title. This has a better single player than that, and they are weaving all three factions together in single player and multiplayer, and then they brought in a loot system that allows you to modify your characters, their special abilities, modify their look, modify their armor, modify their weaponry, and I think that is super cool. So it's kind of merging a lot of ideas. You've got the multiplayer focus, which everyone really wants. You got this loot focus, kind of like Injustice 2 is bringing in loot, and so many of the free-to-play games have done loot now for years. You've got, hey, we're going to give you single player as well, and then you have an original game mechanic in terms of this more cerebral combat that appears at first glance to be hack and slash, but trust me, if you try to hack and slash, you will not be very good at For Honor, and challenges the players to be skilled and determined and disciplined in their play. And I think some of the things they're doing in terms of making this big faction war, this is just like a cool side note, but this big faction war where then the maps will change the weather of the maps based on which faction is in control. So usually they have these dumb meta things in games where it's like, oh, this faction's winning, yay, you get a freaking sticker, I don't know, whatever. Here, the fact that the maps are going to be snowy if the Vikings are in control of that sector, or they're going to be rainy and misty if the samurai are in control, that is a cool visual representation, and a way to sort of do some of the things that I think games like MAG and other things, tried to accomplish, but never, to me, really did. And for a new IP, it is incredibly polished and seems like a phenomenal first effort that feels like a second effort. And that's, to me, a fantastic compliment. It's chock full of content. It has great online and community ties. And it's a really fun gameplay loop that I think, given the ability to level up different characters and choose from these 16 different heroes or fighters, is going to give that a lot of legs, and it sounds like they're going to do DLC right, and if they do, I think, akin to Rainbow Six or whatnot, they will have another long-lasting multiplayer game on their hands that hopefully receives the praise and the sales that I think it deserves, because it's phenomenal. I cannot wait to play it. I secretly hope it somehow comes out on Switch, because I'd love to take it on the go, but even if it doesn't, For Honor is you gotta mark Valentine's Day. Make sure you take care of your mom or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, but Valentine's Day is doubly good this year. Number 3, as we move to the top of the list, I'm surprised it's here for me, but it was really an easy decision. Number 3 is God of War 4. Contrary to what seems to be the popular opinion, I think God of War 4 is coming out this year. I think it's going to be Sony's tentpole fall title. I think it's their counter to Scorpio. I don't think you counter Scorpio with Days Gone. I don't think you counter Scorpio with something like Gran Turismo or a Japanese title. I think you counter Scorpio, Microsoft, America, powerful graphics with your showstopper, and that's God of War 4. I sat in on a session with Cory Barlog and the game at E3. I love their mindset. I love his attitude. I love the headspace they're at. I think they're going to deliver a phenomenal game. It is, again, giving a more cerebral combat system to a franchise that used to be more hack and slash. It's still full of combos and hack and slash, but I feel like it looks to be the most Dark Souls-esque yet. The camera movements are really awesome, and it seems to up the ante in terms of the intensity and the action quite a bit. The now story-focused God of War that isn't about making love to a brothel of psycho weird turn into demon beauties, or Kratos just ripping heads off everything and avenging his family, which I'm sure he will rip up a lot of heads and avenge his family in some capacity. But it seems to be a more grounded story that is about this father-son bond and is buoyed by the fact that the team and Corey are experiencing this in their own lives. And I think when you're going through something, you have the best ability to convey that in your work. And it looks like they are trying to merge God of War intense fun gameplay with some new tweaks, with incredible PS4 quality worlds and levels and environments, with the story chops of Last of Us or Uncharted. And to me, like, yo, I don't care if it's a clone. I don't care if it's taking too much from other pieces. Like, the best artists steal. So steal what you want, Corey. Steal what you want, team, and deliver us a game of the year. I think, if I had to predict, I think God of War 4 will be most people's game of the year. I think it's going to be a visual just fiesta. I think that the story is going to impress people. I don't know that it'll be like a cry-worthy story, but I think it's going to be good. And I think they are going to pull a lot of personality out of a character that previously was just all power. And I think that'll be interesting. And I think that combat looks really fun. Some of the cinematography, the fact that there is no load screen stoppage, it's one shot through. Like, there are like sort of like kill cam moments, but there's no like straight cutscenes and fade to black or anything. It's one thing through the world. I mean, I have harped on this from the early Xbox 360 days of like games that set distances visually, games that set other levels visually are the best. I love when you get to see, like, oh, I'll never forget Alan Wake. Like, you see a gas station off in the distance, you're like, I have to get there, and I can just get there without loading or sitting into a car or stopping into an elevator. You just go there. And if they're able to do that with God of War, and take you on this epic, fantastical, mythological journey without really chopping it up, I think that's going to be an incredible feeling, and I look for God of War 4 to be, like, absolutely amazing. Now, we're down to 2. And remember, I do have honorable mentions, but we're down to 2. And these 2 are my personal picks. Again, this is my list. It's not everybody's list. Game of the year, I feel like I do more for gaming as a collective. This is more me personally. A lot of these, though, I do think are going to end up being the best titles of the year, so my hype and hope is in the right spot. But some people may take umbrage or issue with the fact that let's just do it. Number 2 is Zelda Breath of the Wild. What can you say? Nintendo's first open world effort, trying to really bring back some of the original OG Legend of Zelda vibes. They've delayed it so many times so that it's ready to go for the Switch launch. And I've played an hour and it's great. It is, to me, it's my ideal open world because it has action-based combat and exploration with crafting and stats and loot, with dungeons and handcrafted environments, with story points and varied environments, with gorgeous art direction and Nintendo charm. I mean, how can you get much better than that? This game occupied the entirety of Nintendo's floor space at E3 2016, and it still was like people's favorite thing of the show. The lines were so long, and rightfully so. It's captivating in every way. I think it's captivating maybe more so because it's something new for Nintendo, and one could argue that they're stepping into the future many years late. But like, that doesn't, you don't put a sticker on the box that says, we're late. We don't put a sticker on the box that says, other games have done this too. It's their game, and it'll do things in its own way, and some will be similar and some will be different. And I think that they've been building towards this with the amazing Zelda Link Between Worlds on 3DS. And with, sort of their litany of console releases, whether you're looking at Twilight, Skyward, Wind Waker, they're building towards, I feel like, a Zelda blowout. And it looks like this is going to be the most impressive Zelda ever for many reasons. I hope it is not divisive. I don't think it will be. Universally praised, universally loved already, and it has given off incredibly impressive showings at every stop along the way. Now, this also, to me, gets some brownie points for being a Switch launch title. If, in fact, that ends up being true, I'm 99% sure it is. It seems like all the marketing materials people have seen line up with that, and it's all they've shown, so why not? I think this game is going to be even more fun because you'll be able to take it on the go, and it will be the first time a AAA game of this caliber is both home and portable. Sure, PS Vita can do some of that like remote play stuff. It's nowhere near the same, and this will have the best visuals of any handheld ever, and it will, sort of blur the lines between home and on the go in ways that we've never seen. So for the fact that it will be sort of the beacon of the future for this system and for the company as Nintendo as a whole, and the game is really great. I love what they've done. I love that they've added grabbing. I love that they've added a true jump. It feels like they're giving fans what the fans want while also being sure to impart their creativity and their just genius into the title as well. Like running around, collecting new weapons, getting new clothes for Link. It has procedural physics. The fact that you can like cut down a tree and it falls the way you cut it. The fact that you can like surf on the snow on your shield. The fact that you have to wear warmer clothes to say warm in the winter. The fact you can grab on anything and climb it. You can grab on enemies and climb up them. Bow and arrows. You can go off and this is something I think that's just amazing for a Zelda title. Like, you can go off in this and be like, ooh, there's a pack of what looks to be tough enemies, and they might be housing, like, a super, basically like a purple weapon. And I want that weapon, and so I'm going to go create my own side quest and fight these guys. And, the fact that there will be main quests and side quests, the fact that it is going to be doing, Nintendo has been the kings of gameplay for years. But now that they're going to try and, give their take on open world, on more of an American design, on more of a Western design and more of a sort of modern era game philosophy, I think is going to be incredible. And I think the story looks cool, and I think it's great that they've kept so much under wraps and yet impressed people so much with what they've shown. So I could talk for hours, but Zelda Breath of the Wild, it could be number one any other year. I think that game is going to not only sell like crazy, but probably go up with God of War 4 for Game of the Year. My number one is the new 3D Mario. Nothing will get me more excited. Aside from a Bioshock 4 that just looks bonkers, that's about it. But a new 3D Mario is exciting because I think that they are going to, maybe not to the same extent, but they're going to take what they've done and what they've learned and up the ante for this new system and for this new 3D Mario. It is an important Mario game because we didn't really have a 3D Mario on Wii U by the very strict standards. Sunshine 64, Galaxy 2, 3D World, that's sort of the oddball out. So the fact that we're getting this early in the Switch life cycle, maybe on launch day, maybe a couple months later, the fact that the rumors are that it is big and bold like a 64 with different worlds has me incredibly excited. And the fact, again, that they'll be able to take it on the go, so cool. I think the sort of merging of the handheld and home console development groups at Nintendo is going to bring some really brilliant games. And the fact that we haven't seen a 3D Mario in so long, you got to imagine these developers have improved, have gained knowledge, have seen so much, and they're ready to really deliver a showstopper sort of like Zelda. So, it was hard for me to decide Zelda, Mario, but at the end of the day, I'm more of a Mario Mushroom Kingdom guy than I am a Link Hyrule guy, so I have to roll with Mario. Not a lot to talk about because we don't know everything about it, or really anything about it, but we will super soon, and so that's my list. So running through once more before honorable mentions: Scalebound, Assassin's Creed Egypt, Prey, Mass Effect Andromeda, Horizon Zero Dawn, and sort of the worry spot, Detroit Become Human, For Honor, God of War 4, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario 3D. That is an incredible list, and I could see all of them being awesome. We'll do a full prediction for 2017 video where I talk about which games I think might slip, which games might disappoint. But for now, I think that's a fantastic list, and I could see my top 10 of 2017 end up being this exact list. Let's get to some honorable mentions, though. Games I couldn't forget, but just couldn't fit. The first one is Star Wars Battlefront 2. The fact that they made, I think, a pretty darn solid first game. Battlefront 1, the revitalized Battlefront 1, was really enjoyable. And it captured the Star Wars vibe excellently. It had some fun modes. It just needed more. And so if they can do what Titanfall 2 did for Titanfall 1, what Assassin's Creed 2 did, what Watch Dogs 2 did, we're looking at a great game, and, I think this is the time we get to see all the new characters, so you're going to get to finally be Kylo and Rey and Finn and whoever else they introduced in Episode 8, instead of just the old guys. And the old guys are good, but I feel like not only is this going to have a single player, not only is this going to have more content, not only is this going to have a second chance, to really tighten and polish, but it's going to have the characters that people are most excited about, so that inevitably just makes it all that much more cool. Plus, PS4 Pro, Scorpio, maybe this thing looks stellar as well. Let's move on. Cannot forget Persona 5. I am not one for major Japanese RPGs, but I'm just blown away by the style and the charm and the glitz and glamour of Persona 5. They crush even the menus, the box art. Woo! That's impressive. So I will do my best to play as much of that game as I can. I'm a little sad about the delay because now it's beyond Switch, it's beyond Zelda, and so you're getting more into a crunch for time instead of if it came out in February, I would have felt better. But I'm still going to try to play as much as I can, and I have been jonesing for a turn-based RPG, and I just haven't gotten one because I know I don't want to burn out, and Persona 5 is that game for me, and it looks so cool. Let's go to Resident Evil 7, which comes out in a couple of weeks. I've played 3+ hours of the game. It is super freaking cool. It's basically like an escape room with evil cannibals chasing you. You don't know what an escape room is. They lock you in a room for 60 minutes. These are real things that you can do around the country, around the world, and it's themed like, a plane crash or, a lab disaster or an alchemist trap you in a laboratory or a space expedition gone wrong or get lost in a jungle or captured on a pirate ship, and then you have to solve puzzles, riddles, things like that to get out in under an hour. Resident Evil 7 borrows a lot of those elements and then adds sort of the quirks that we used to love about Resident Evil, like the inventory management, the kind of, shaky combat, and real weird, creepy stuff. So that one I'm dreading playing it because I'm a scaredy cat, but I'm really impressed with how they've turned that thing around, because 6 was just, it's not good. Let's talk about the one that I bet people are like, why is this on your list? Red Dead Redemption 2. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be amazing. To me, it's too much of a known quantity put on the hype. We don't know what they're doing with it, but for me, those games do not evolve and change enough to be that exciting. I will play it. I will probably love it. I'll probably be impressed by the quality and the scope and all of that. I loved RDR1. Nothing there gets me excited, though. And I don't know. I'm probably the only one, but that's how I feel. Pikmin 4 we know nothing about, but it's coming out this year for Switch. That's the rumors state, and we know it's been in development for a while. And I love Pikmin 3 so much. I think it's one of the most underrated games of this current generation, or if you want to call it last generation. It's weird, because now Wii U is going to be like part of both, and Switch is going to be part of both. Inevitably, this PS5, Scorpio, do generations even mean anything anymore? Anyhow, I think Pikmin 4 is going to be great. I love Pikmin 3. I'm excited to see what they do, if they make any new tweaks. And Miyamoto always, that's one of his babies, so you got to imagine he's going to be putting a lot of oomph behind that. On the indie side of things, I'm very excited for Vampire, which is the next game from Don't Nod, the people who did Don't... Life is Strange. And it is a really monumental undertaking. They're looking to make a game where you can kill or spare every character, and it affects the world and affects your game. And then it also is like kind of tricky combat. So they're going all out, and they're doing a lot, and there seems to be an infinite number of permutations of that game that I don't know how they or their engine will handle, especially given the fact that Life is Strange didn't even do lip syncing right. But I have faith, and I'm excited, and I think it's a great concept for a game. It's a super cool era and idea, and if done well, it could be like crazy memorable. I did love the emotion they took in Life is Strange, and the risks and challenges they were willing to take, because they did some creepy stuff towards the end of that season. I do worry that this hardcore vampire dude is not going to be as interesting as the teen girl perspective that was provided in Life is Strange, because that was so unique, so different. It really stood out. But we'll see. Their last thing, Life is Strange, was fantastic. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Yooka-Laylee, a game that is sort of the modern Banjo-Kazooie. It has so many of the old guys from Rare, the teams that did DK64 and Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and it's a collectathon, but with modern graphics and some modern ideas, and I'm really excited for it. What I've played has been fun. I'm a little nervous it's going to feel much more old than new, but we'll see. It's coming out in April. It's got a really passionate team behind it, and you know, good things happen when you have excited, happy, passionate, people that believe in what they're doing. Probably not the case in a lot of studios, but definitely the case over there at Playtonic with Yooka-Laylee, so looking forward to that. And then Cuphead. I don't know when Cuphead is going to come out. It's got to now, right? I think I've seen it, this will be the third year, 33? Fourth? That game has been at so many shows. They now have fleshed it out with levels, bosses, everything, and it's fun. The art style is impressive, and I think it'll be a nice hardcore platformer and sort of fill that spot, that like hardcore, tough, really cool graphic style game for 2017. And let's not forget Little Nightmares. You probably have seen PewDiePie play it, or a weird trailer with a little like doll kid with a triangle on her head and a big gluttonous chef chasing her around. I think that game is eerie and weird, and it reminds me of like if the guys from Wallace and Gromit like took acid or something and then came up with this like real creepy, really weird game that just has just some strange vibes, and it kind of reminds me of Inside in that way, because that game has some strange vibes, and I loved Inside number 2 on my 2016 list, so super looking forward to Little Nightmares. But that's all of it. That is 10 games on my main list, and then you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 honorable mentions. I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. I'm sure some of your favorites aren't here, but let me know about them in the comments below. What do you think of my list? What are you excited for? And thank you so much for watching. Really excited about 2017, and I think it's going to be a great year, and I think the games are going to impress the heck out of us. We got new systems, a bunch of new games, and they're spread across a lot of genres, so what more can you ask for? I hope that this year lives up to the hype, and I feel like the delays will happen, but it won't be as brutal as it has been in the past. I feel like a lot of stuff just like has to come out. Like, Mass Effect and Horizon and Detroit and For Honor and Zelda and Mario like those are all coming. So Scalebound, that stuff, Prey, that stuff is coming. So we shall see. And there's a lot more games too that you could rattle off and will be fun and may even replace some of these along the way. But that's the fun of the year. You don't know until you get there, and we've got 12 months to look forward to. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. Hope you enjoyed the list. Let me know yours in the comments below and your thoughts. Till next time, drink some hot chocolate. I love you, and we will see you all later.